Waves are one of nature's most dynamic forces. We live here on the coast, and we have the benefit of that. We see the soothing nature of waves. They provide rhythm and constancy around here. We can pick up our boards and go get the thrill of a ride. They also can destroy entire cities. They're a very powerful force. The innovation wave is something that's been around for well over 20 years, and we have technology that has changed our lives in so many different ways. And the innovation wave is something that is going to be with us. It's here, and we have no control over it. The thing about waves is there is no control. The only thing we can control is how we respond to it and what we do with it once it hits us. So we're going to look at the innovation wave, and what I want you to think about is the fact that survival is not optional. The innovation wave is here. We have to do something with it. There have been two other major waves in the past 50 years. We had the quality wave and we had the productivity wave. And in these waves, there were leaders and there were laggards. And the laggards got beat up pretty good. If you think about the auto industry, when they ignored the quality wave and Deming took his work to Japan, we've been feeling the effects of that for decades. We can't ignore waves, they're coming. We can choose to ignore them. Survival, though, is optional. So when we think about the power of the wave that's coming now, the innovation wave, it's even more substantial than either one of those two waves for one key reason. The first two waves, the quality wave and the productivity waves, at some point they're focused internally on current operations. So at some point you get diminishing returns. Once you get to zero defects, once you have your operation so streamlined that it's run by the proverbial man and the dog, the man to feed the dog and the dog to bite the man if he touches the controls, where do you go from there? You can only get so far. The innovation wave, though, is focused on growth. It's all about new and breakthrough opportunities. The potential is completely unlimited. So this wave is going to make a difference. It's powerful. So let's look at nature as a teacher when we think about what are these waves? How do we deal with waves? Waves occur when energy is applied to water. Now, this energy can be in the form of physical energy, gravitational energy, wind energy. When energy applied to water, you get waves. So even though that's such a simple thought, you think about the power of waves to change the face of the ocean, the surface of the ocean, the coast in which it interacts with, and all the life within it. It has a significant power. So we're going to use that same equation for the innovation wave. So the innovation wave is energy in the form of capital and talent as it's applied to ideas. But not just ideas to the power of unmet needs plus a business model. Bet you didn't know you were going to have math this afternoon, huh? So let's break this down a little bit. Now, idea is at the center of the equation, but it's not the entire equation, and yet oftentimes that's where we get tripped up. We think the idea is the be-all, end-all. This is often what's referred to as the ideas first approach in the innovation industry. And there's a couple problems with having the idea be the focal point and the driver of the innovation process. First thing is that you end up with situations where you have orphan ideas. You have ideas that are floating around looking for a home. Technology's looking for a solution. Technology's looking for a market. Solutions looking for a market. The other thing is that unless you're Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and the type of person that can pop these ideas just freshly baked right out of their brains and into the market, then it's hard for you to play in the innovation game. Where do you fit? So if you think about even 3M, one of the giants of innovation, when they set out when they came across, I guess I should say, Post-it notes, they were actually trying to build a super strong adhesive. Kind of missed that one, didn't they? They ended up with a very easy to remove adhesive, and they spent 5 years figuring out what were they going to do with it. They knew they had something, didn't know what to do with it. So that's why we look at ideas to the power of unmet needs. The unmet needs are the critical driving force of how strong that idea will be. It doesn't matter how good, how interesting the technology or the solution is, if it's not addressing an unmet need in the market, What value is it going to have? How well will it really go? And the thing about unmet needs, this whole thinking in the innovation space changed around 1975. Theodore Levitt stated that people don't need to buy a quarter-inch drill. They're trying to get a quarter-inch hole. Now, today we've taken that even further to say, do they really even want a quarter-inch hole? If they're trying to hang a picture, they don't need a hole in the wall. They'd probably rather have another way to hang the picture. So by focusing on the needs first, it opens up amazing opportunities for breakthrough thinking. The other thing it does when you focus on needs first is it democratizes innovation. So think about that. Unmet needs can be uncovered. They can be explored. It's a process to uncover unmet needs. It's teachable, it's repeatable, it can be learned, and it opens up the game of innovation to everybody. So this becomes an important part of where we can go with innovation and how we can spread it more rapidly. To give you an idea of how the unmet needs can be used to create breakthrough solutions, this is a solution that was created in the therapeutic food industry, treating malnourished children. In the past, children that were malnourished in third world countries had IV solution treatments. There were treatments with powdered milk and formulas. When Nutriset, that created the Plumpy Nut, created this packet, it's about this big. It is a great tasting paste. It's shelf stable, no refrigeration, no water needed. And a parent can take an entire course of treatment home in one visit to the clinic. It turned the whole process of treating malnourished children on its head. That's the kind of breakthrough we need to think about. Okay, so the unmet need plus the business model. Again, if we have the unmet needs, we come up with a great solution for it. If that solution and that idea is not sustainable, it's never going to go anywhere. And if we think about the business model, this is not just for for-profit organizations. And again, this is where organizations can get tripped up. If organizations that are nonprofit, governments, are not looking at what are my core customers, how am I going to generate revenue, what's the cost structure look like, how am I going to sustain this idea, it's not going to go anywhere. So do yourself a favor and don't forget the business model. Now let's shift over to the other side of the equation, the energy side. Now the energy source for innovation, talent and capital. This is a very fickle energy source because it requires the contribution, the collaboration, and the cooperation of people. That makes a very, sometimes unstable energy source. So how do we create more stability in that energy source? We have two ways that we can catalyze this energy source, things that you can do and things that the region around us can do. You as the innovator, what you can do to stabilize that energy source is to shore up the other side of the equation. Make sure you're addressing an unmet need. Make sure your business model is stable. And be open to input. Make sure that you don't become so attached to your idea that you don't pivot when you need to pivot. Or when your business model that you start mapping out says, this isn't going to fly, that you're willing to make some significant changes. As a region where we can support the innovators is by creating an infrastructure that fosters cross-sector collaboration, where we bring corporations and nonprofits and governments and schools together to solve these problems that we need to solve. We also have to make this area, we have to have the educational infrastructure in this area that can foster innovation, and we need to have the capital, the attraction of capital here. If we don't put these things together, we end up with ideas that kind of go in fits and spurts. They take a really good leap off the cliff and then they go splat. We have to be able to stabilize this energy source. So by strengthening the right side of the equation, we can get more stability on the left side of the equation. Now, since we do live here on the coast, we have the advantage of understanding how waves work. We've seen that, we know that if waves are needed to bring revitalization and nutrients and maintain our coast, but we've also seen what happens when waves become destructive and they start tearing down the coast. And what we have to be able to do as an area, as a region, is to be able to create the infrastructure that's going to create a constructive way of welcoming this innovation wave and not have it be destructive, not have it start pulling talent from this area, pulling capital out of this area, having incubated companies pick up and leave because they can't sustain themselves here. That we can control. So again, waves, they can provide us with rhythm and constancy. They can provide us with a thrill of a ride, or they can destroy. And we're inviting this wave here. We have incubators, we've got this great conference, we've got capital coalescing around us. We are inviting that wave here. And it's up to us now how we approach it. What are we going to do with it? We've got to get out those boards, paddle like crazy, and drop into the wave. Because innovation is not optional. Survival is what's optional. Thank you.